Welcome back to Movie Guys Improvise. You are listening to
Chill with Realms.
Jurassic Mark.
and Faerhad Targaryen. Last week, when you caught us on our previous episode, we were watching a 1980s film about the 1919 Black Sox scandal, Eight Men Out. If you haven't caught that yet, go ahead and check out our review of it. And for today's episode, I wanted to continue the theme of miniseries or long watches of this season of the podcast and took it back to another Netflix original. This one was Mindy Kaling's creation, known as Never Have I Ever. Now, I'm not too familiar with Mindy Kaling, but I think she was on a TV show called The Office, which was probably one of the most popular TV shows like ever, I think.
We still
She
working
was.
through
She
that,
was Kelly
actually.
Kapoor.
There you go. Okay, yeah, I haven't seen too much of The Office myself. Realms, I know you're currently doing a watch through of it with your girlfriend. I think that role probably helped her like go into stardom, I think. I'm not too
You
familiar with.
said Kelly wrote this show?
She created it, so I feel like she had a huge creative vision of what went into the show. Yeah.
Damn. Alright.
She was also the voice of one of the characters of a Pixar movie, Inside Out, which was also a really good movie, probably one of my favorite Pixar films, to be honest. So, Never Have I Ever is a coming of age drama about a 15-year-old sophomore in high school, Devi Vishwakumar. Her father had gone through a tragic accident and ended up passing away. And throughout the show, we can see that she's dealing with the PTSD of it while still struggling to fit into high school, as she's kind of an outcast because she's known as a nerd with her two other best friends, Eleanor and Fabiola. So what she wants to do this year is to be like quote unquote cool. She wants to like hang with the cool kids or whatever, be a part of the cool crowd and not be stereotyped as like the three nerds, basically. She has a huge, she has an ongoing rival with another student. His name is Ben. And to make a point in the show that he's Jewish, her high school crush, though, is a dude by the name of Paxton Hall Yoshida. Pretty sure all of these characters are supposed to be either 15 or 16, but before I get into like my overall thoughts about the show, I just want to say the casting felt kind of off. Like, if you guys know what I mean. The trend of Hollywood and TV having young adult actors playing teenagers, sometimes it works, sometimes it really doesn't. So the actor Darren Barnett, who plays Paxton, the character is 16, but the actor is my age. Speaking of my age, before we move any further, I just want to give a huge shout out to the dude Chill with Realms for just recently hitting over 1,000 subscribers. Huge and impressive feat. So congratulations to you there, brother. As well as finally hitting the big 3-0, I think this past Monday, yeah?
Yes, sir. 1,000 subscribers at 30 years old. Oh, man.
Woo!
Let's get it.
Congrats, man.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
So yeah, both of you gentlemen are now in the big 3-0s, and I'm waiting for my turn. And it's like dreading my turn, but it's coming. It's life. You get older, you know what I mean?
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. It'll be there waiting for you.
Oh man,
Starting to get more gray hairs.
Oh, no.
God. At least I'll
I'm
still
scared
have hair. I'd rather still be having hair than, like gray hairs than not.
I low-key
Hey,
wanna...
gray can look distinguished, you know?
True. I low-key want to cut my dreads one time just to grow it back because, like, who knows how much longer I have before I'm not able to grow my hair back.
Oh, you never know, man.
Yeah.
But with your channel, by the way, kind of a nerdy flex, but now whenever I tag you in the description, I don't have to type out the URL. I can just do @chillwithrealms, like on Instagram. That's a feature
Yeah?
that you get. Yeah, once you hit 1,000 subscribers, you inherit that feature.
Oh, shoot. Damn. I didn't even know that.
I think it's a
Nice.
new thing. So, I guess it's kind of rude of me to be using age to segue into giving you your congratulations, but
Do it, or
on,
did it?
on, on the
That's
topic,
just a number.
right? Yeah, but with that being like the topic that I started off with, like I was mentioning Paxton and his actor. So did you guys feel the same way that I did in that regard?
I didn't think about it too much, but now that you put it out there, I guess it kind of makes maybe more sense to me that they kept, kind of putting attention on the fact that he looks older than he actually is. Like, because there's other shows that do that, but they never actually kind of like they try to hide it, essentially. If you get what I mean.
I do, actually. I think one of the most infamous examples is a TV show called Riverdale, where the characters are all very good looking and they're also like in their 20s and 30s even.
Oh yeah, Davey mentioned that.
Yeah, they even talk about it, yeah, in the show itself, because Kamala, who is Davy's cousin, is watching the show as just as part of the plot, actually, which we will get into later on. Davy's cousin Kamala lives with them while she's studying at university, and her mother Nalini, I hope I'm saying that name right, they're all grieving in their own way, sort of, about the loss of the father figure in the family. So this was my choice, and I'll leave my opinions. What were your guys' initial thoughts going into it?
I personally enjoyed it because it kind of caters to shows that I used to watch way back. Like I used to be really big into Degrassi. My mother, she tried to put me onto Degrassi when it first came out, and I'm like, nah, doesn't sound like my thing. But then they always did marathons, and they'll play the whole show for days upon days on a certain channel, and then you end up like watching one episode. Next thing you know, you're binging the whole series. Davy reminded me of another Degrassi character, Ali Bendari, because she's also, an Indian character who wanted to live more of an American lifestyle. So I enjoyed the show.
Was she? I watched a few episodes of Degrassi back in the day. Was she the character you're talking about, the one that had an older brother and they went to the same high school?
Yes.
Got it.
Sav Bendari.
There we go. Okay.
The rock star.
Yeah, he was kind of a rock star, dude.
Yeah, I liked it. It was cute. Well, I say it was cute, but it also had some really touching scenes. Like, particularly late in the show, there were a couple of moments where I started bawling, and I am man enough to admit it.
I'm with you there, JM. There was a scene actually early on. It was early in the show where you remember where Davy's mom is trying to sell Mohan's bike, his motorbike.
Oh yeah.
And Davy didn't want it to be sold, and she almost had a buyer, but then she sees like a red ribbon on the left handle, and she has this flashback memory. I'm not entirely sure what that memory was about, but she's in bed and she's crying. It sounds like the two of them, her and Mohan, are having a conversation about a miscarriage, because I remember Mohan saying, "We already have one perfect daughter. We don't need another one," right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then to make her feel better, he's like, "Let's go on a ride. Let's take a ride on this motorcycle." I think that's how the show went, or the scene went, rather. And because of that memory, she decides against selling the motorcycle, and that almost got me teary-eyed. I thought that was one of the best scenes in the show, to be honest.
Well, the harp scene in episode 9 was the one that really got me, where Davy was playing the harp and remembering that really awful conversation she overheard with her parents on the night her dad died.
Right, yeah, I remember that.
That scene got me.
That scene had a lot of context behind it, because you can tell throughout the entire show that Davy and her mom don't really get along. Obviously, a lot of that has to do with the fact that they're both grieving, both having PTSD because of their loss. But this show provides a little bit of context of why there's so much anger between them, right? And for that particular reason, I don't really get why her mom was so mad. Like, yeah, she lost the notes, but is that so bad that you have to say things like ungrateful daughter, or she's no daughter of mine, or oh, I can't control her? That was a little bit of excessive.
I was starting to have flashbacks of the last show that we watched on Netflix. What was it called again?
I am not okay with this.
Yes. How did I forget that? Oh my god. We kept saying that the whole podcast. But yeah, the struggle between her and her mother reminded me of them.
So since you mentioned I am not okay with this, I do want to say, unfortunately, Netflix canceled that show, meaning there's not going to be a season 2 anymore.
Damn.
Yeah,
Ah,
that's so sad.
so we're not going to see any more exploding heads.
Or explanations of such or anything of the sort. Nah.
That's probably why they got canceled. It was so damn
Yeah,
good.
probably.
That explosion.
It was immensely popular. I'm pretty sure the reason it got canceled was something to do with coronavirus. They also canceled a show called The Patriot Act, which stars Hassan Minhaj, who used to be on the
Wait,
Daily
they
Show.
canceled that?
Yeah, man.
Oh man,
Damn, way
I
to
loved
ruin
that
Mark.
show. Yeah, seriously. Ah, yeah. Damn it, I loved Hassan Minhaj, man. Like he had 10 times the energy level of most of these like political commentary show hosts. Like I loved watching him run around the set, but okay. Plus he was really funny. But damn. All right.
I hate when that happens. Like you get through
I
like
know,
a
right?
season of a show or even multiple seasons. Like my
Ah.
wife and kids, they had multiple seasons. They leave off on a cliffhanger, but then something happens and they get canceled.
At least it's not serialized, but damn. Well, I guess the market's just flooded, you know? Like a lot of Jon Stewart's disciples got their own TV shows, so I guess we could only support so many, but come on.
Yeah, but they were successful. That's the thing. I mean, on Prime
They
Time,
were.
yeah. For regular cable, I'm pretty sure a show could get canceled simply because it's not popular, right? Not enough people are watching it.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure on Netflix, The Patriot Act was quite popular, which means it was making money. The way I see it, it would be in Netflix's best interest to continue it. But I don't know. Maybe it wasn't as popular as we think it was. I really have no idea. I just hope in this case that Never Have I Ever doesn't suffer the same fate as the Patriot Act, and I am not okay with this. And even the Marvel Netflix shows, I mean, that was just Hollywood politics between Netflix and Disney, so that I can kind of understand. The character stories might not be completely gone, but this is a 100% Netflix original, so I hope, that it was popular just like I Am Not Okay With This was and the Patriot Act, so hopefully popularity will be enough to keep it alive, but I guess
Honestly,
anything can go.
It'd be even crazier if this one got canceled because they literally state at the end of the series that it got cleared for another season.
Exactly. Yeah. But anything can happen. This whole
This is
year
true.
is a train wreck.
Yeah.
Moving into the topic of the show itself and how I felt about it, I was really hyped to get into it because there just aren't a lot of movies or shows with the main character being brown, South Asian. And I was kind of disappointed with a lot of it. Even though I thoroughly enjoyed it, I would be excited for a season 2, but a lot of it was kind of, really? And the thing I'll start off with is just the fact that so many episodes, so much of the plot in the beginning is held up on a lie. Like the story depends on a lie that Davy told her friends that kept the story going. And what is that lie? The lie that she and Paxton had sex. So I've not seen it's not like we've never seen that before. We've all probably seen plenty of movies and TV shows where the plot is driven by a lie that keeps the story going. And it's the same thing here. And just because a story uses, a similar trope in a new story and makes it a little bit unoriginal doesn't make it bad. But here I was just a little disappointed with how the story was going. At the same time though, I do like that they don't make Davy a completely likable, rootable character. I feel like she has done some things throughout the show that make you not want to root for her at the same time. You know what I mean? Do you guys agree, or do you feel like you were rooting for her like every step of the way?
I don't know about rooting, but like there was times where I was like, "Yo, you need to chill."
Yeah. Like there were times where, I mean, she just straight up did things that I disagreed with. She's hurt in the beginning because like she finds out that Eleanor has a boyfriend and her friends never told her about that. That was not cool. Like there was no need for her friends to hide that from her, but that gets her upset enough that she makes it a mission to go and like tell Paxton, like she waits for him outside of the school, it looks like, and just straight up says that she wants to have sex, which she agrees to. And when they're actually about to do it, because he agreed to it, she kind of gets cold feet and runs back home. When her friends ask her about it, like at school, what the narrator says, the narrator, by the way, John McEnroe, he says that from Davy's perspective, she doesn't want to continue feeling like the pitied character, the pitied girl at school, because she was handicapped for a little while. She was having so much PTSD that she became a cripple temporarily after her father died. And she didn't want to continue being pitied upon. So she makes up the lie, and that lie gets her in some trouble. It goes up all the way into the Model UN episode that we were talking about off the record, right? The thing about this is that like the other girls in the hotel, they're like basically worshiping her. They're like, oh, you're having sex with Paxton. I feel like you should have your own bed and not contaminated with our bodies. I'm like, what? Really? Is that really how like teenage girls talk? I also have to understand, like I'm a lot older now, and I also have to think about the fact that they're portraying teenagers. Is this really the way that they think? If it is, then maybe I'm just out of touch, you know?
I think it was supposed to be satirical, like very tongue in cheek. The writers clearly don't think people actually speak that way, and I think that's the joke at some level. The whole series has this kind of absurd sense of humor running through it. I mean, the narrator is this tennis star, like who voices himself. It's a little bit goofy, but that's by design. At least that's how I saw it. At least some of it. There's some very genuine emotion in this show, but some of the humor is just absurd.
I personally, there were parts of it where I laughed, but maybe I have a high bar for humor because I didn't even find it that funny. It was a good show. I just didn't find it, like, the comedic bumps didn't really get me going most of the time. But just to focus on the plot and the lie that Davy has been telling. So Ben says to her on the bus that, oh, you think you're hot shit now because you're having sex with Paxton. And then another girl on the bus overhears that. And then later on, like I think the next, like the night, that night is when they have like the party with all the alcohol. And it's the news spread, the rumor spread like wildfire. And eventually Paxton texts her saying, why would you lie? Why would you lie to people about us having sex? That's not cool. She tries to hit him back, but his phone is off. And she decides to get mad at Ben for it. And I didn't really agree with that, because if she's going to be mad at someone for it, she should be mad at her friends for spreading the rumor. I mean, first of all, it's her own fault in the first place for lying about it. Like, she's the one who lies. So honestly, she has no one to blame for herself in the end. But if she's going to be mad at anybody for spreading the rumor, she should be mad at her friends, because during that group project scene, it was her friends who said to Ben that she's having sex with Paxton. So if I were her, I mean, not that if I were her, but I'm just saying, I think the right call would have been, making sense story-wise, her getting back home and saying to her friends, guys, what the hell? Why did you tell Ben that I'm having sex with Paxton? Her taking it out on Ben was not cool.
That was just a moment. She exploded, and he was the nearest target that she could take it out on, and she has a history of, going back and forth with him. That's all that was.
Oh, yeah. Well, with this episode, the Model UN episode, Realms, I was talking to you about this off the record just now, and you were telling me that you spoke to your girlfriend about this particular scene. So what was it about that that explanation that made her want to watch the show with you?
Just the fucking savagery. Oh my god. Like, they just decided to work together and to team up, her and Ben Gross. And then after she finds out that he's the one that screwed up and blew up her cover about the lie, then they get into the mock UN meeting. And next thing you know, she just goes off. She's talking about, oh, we want to nuke the U.S. He's like, we can't do that. And also watch your mouth and everything, because she was cursing. And then she was like, he said something about they didn't have any nukes in the country she was representing. So she's like, all right, screw it. So she's like, yo, what was it, Russia? I think it was Russia.
Yeah.
She was like,
yeah, it was Russia.
She was like, yo, can we get nukes from you? I'll give you my email. And he's like, I already got your email. She's like, I'll give you the real email. He's like, nice. We decided to delegate all of our nukes over to her. So then she gets it. The other girl stands up. She just, she said something. She's like, all right, whatever. Threw a paper at her. She was like, you got nuked. And anybody who wants to stand beside the U.S., you're going to get nuked too. Whole class, the whole entire room exploded with claps and applause.
World War. They
So
were
that was the
chanting World War III. They're like World War III, World War
yeah,
III. That's how it was going. Yeah.
which is crazy because we almost had World War III at the beginning of the year, but just in this show, oh my god, that was the funniest scene for me.
The acting was definitely like very convincing. I mean, the fact that she crumpled up that paper and threw it at another student, I felt like that was borderline bullying, to be honest. But I mean, I get they were doing it to show how angry she was. I didn't think it was her being rational, but yeah, I understand. So, did
Savagery.
did your girlfriend enjoy the show, by the way?
Actually, she did because her sister came home and I had offered for us to watch How I Met Your Mother marathon because they promised me we were going to have a How I Met Your Mother marathon on the day that they were having the surprise parties to throw me off on my birthday surprise party.
Right.
But yeah, I offered for us to watch that. And my girl was like, nah. She was like, now I'm invested in the show. She wanted to keep watching and finish up the 10 episodes.
Cool. Very cool. All right. So that means that she was invested in and she wanted to see how it went.
Yeah.
There was also, like, after that happened, there was a whole episode focused just on Ben. And I do want to talk about the character Ben, like, because I think he's a pretty important character. But when Davy gets back home, she tries to talk to Paxton, and Paxton is understandably upset that she was lying to everybody about them having sex. And she tries to explain that, you know, she didn't actually lie. She tries to make an excuse for herself, saying she didn't actually lie. Her friends just assumed something. And he's like, well, why didn't you correct them? That's the same question I had. She was being selfish. She was straight up being selfish. And all the while, her own best friends are going through their own thing. Like, Eleanor's mom had disappeared, right? And she discovers where she's at. And Fabiola comes out to her family. And both of those things are pretty big deals for someone who is your best friend. And she just blows them off. She's like, whatever you're going through, what I'm going through is bigger than that. And I don't know. I don't think that was cool.
I think Davy was meant to be relatable, but not always likable. And that's not necessarily a bad thing because she's believable. I mean, from her perspective, I think her actions make sense. She's in this really emotionally charged situation. She's tired of being pitied. She's tired of being considered a nerd. And an opportunity to make herself look cooler and derive validation from that pops up. And, you know, of course, she decides to take it because she's a teenager. And at this point, she doesn't really know better.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Teenage hormones.
Oh man, that's what I meant in the beginning when I said that, like, she was a likable character, but she's not always the, like, 100% likable character. Like, she's not always like the morally correct person. I think that was realistic. That made her more realistic, and while relatable, also, like, as a viewer, conflicted to, for me anyway, whether to root for her or not.
Like, for me, she was 100% out of line with the way that she reacted to them, but at the same time, it was like her hormones were going so crazy over the situation, and she, like, everybody knows what her situation was, why she's acting crazy, but the reasons that came up for her friends, you know, that were really important, she didn't even have any idea, you know, what they were. So I feel like it's no excuse, but at the same time, it's like, if she actually did have an idea what it was, her reaction probably would have been different. She still was being a bad friend either way for not even knowing what her friends are going through. But that's just the logic I see behind it.
Yeah, they really weren't talking to her. Why weren't they, like, at least texting to know what was going on? Like, she was away for the Model UN thing, right? And that's when Fabiola came out to her parents as being gay, and that's when Eleanor, like, discovered that her mom was only, like, what, 10 miles away at some restaurant, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That all happened in the span of like 2 days.
Eleanor's mom is the worst. That entire scene had me cringing.
Yes.
Ooh, the bake sale scene. Yikes.
Diarrhea
Oh
of
my
the
god,
mouth.
so bad.
Absolutely. It was incurable, man.
She worse than Davy. Like she just putting everybody's business out there.
Hey, speaking as a theater kid, I can tell you that I have met quite a few people in those circles who love drama off stage even more than they love drama on stage. They just can't help but sow discord wherever they go.
Ah, damn.
Yeah.
So you think
Not hashtag not all actors, but a lot of us.
so, JM, do you think that Eleanor's mom tried to stir the pot at the bake sale on purpose?
I don't think so. I think she had like no filter, but I also think she's a very dramatic person who's used to being the center of attention, and maybe she didn't realize how incendiary her comments were, but yeah, maybe she self-consciously stirred the pot a little bit. I don't think it was deliberate, but it might have been.
Okay.
I feel
Or it
as an
might have just
adult.
been like a compulsion of hers. I'm sorry, carry on.
I mean, I don't know. As an adult, I feel like you got some damn sense to know, that these things that they're telling you, they don't want their parents to know. Obviously.
I think she was just so excited that these teenage girls were like confiding in her, and she just couldn't resist spilling the beans, or at least hinting at the beans, or making it really obvious that she knew exactly what the damn beans were.
That makes
Yeah.
her, but that would still, that would at least make her fall under like a bad parent, if not a like an insensitive person. You'd have to
I
be.
mean, I
I'm
don't think
saying,
anybody would deny that she's kind of a bad parent. Let's be honest. Like we saw in that flashback scene that she left the kids at the carnival when they were like 5 or 6 to go to an audition.
true, true, yeah.
She might even have a condition we don't even know about.
Maybe,
She
maybe.
doesn't. She doesn't make a lot of good decisions at all.
We'll
Maybe.
psychoanalyze her in season 2.
With the way she was about to out Fabiola, you would have to be living under a rock to know how sensitive it is to be giving out information like that. It's not in your place to be doing something like that. So, which is what almost happens at the bakery. But I think in that same scene later on is when Fabiola decides to come out to her mom anyway. So,
Her mom was more upset that she was going to cut French.
well, that was the cover of, yeah, French for Latin or something, right?
Well, yeah, but like her mom reacted worse to that than she did to the coming out. Like she was really supportive when Fabiola came out, but she seemed actually kind of ticked when she implied that she was going to cut French, which
Yeah.
I think is hysterical. But
I guess she knew that her family would react harshly to that, and that's why she used that as the cover up when she
yeah.
got cold feet from telling her parents that she's gay. Her family, I mean.
Okay, so the thing that I want to state is that Ben Gross reminds me of a mixture between Neville from iCarly and the main guy from Wizards of Waverly Place.
I know both of those shows, but I don't remember them well enough to know either of those characters. So could you describe them for like just a sec?
Neville is iCarly. He's basically iCarly's Ben Gross. He's the smart kid that lives, I guess, across the hallway, nerdy kid, and he always has a grudge against her for some reason. And the last thing I remember him saying is, "You'll rue the day, rue it."
Okay. All right.
But he reminds me mostly of him.
Okay, and sort of another antagonistic character in Wizards of Waverly Place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Well,
That kind of brings me to a point. Oh, sorry, I was just going to say that kind of brings me to a point I wanted to make about Ben. I really hate the cliche of characters being mean and nasty to each other only to like get together at the end of the story. I think it's handled better here than it usually is, but Ben in those first couple of episodes seems pretty damn irredeemable. Like, calling girls the UNs, which sounds racist until you find out, no, it's actually sexist because that's uneffable. Like, that's what that's short for. Ben does some really despicable stuff. So when they made him out to be a love interest at first, I was feeling kind of cringy, but he kind of won me over by like episode 9 when he let Davy move into his house.
So I didn't like the fact that I know the cliche you're talking about. I didn't like how Davy ended up with Ben. I mean, it's kind of a love triangle, right? That's kind of what they leave it on,
Oh, it's totally a love triangle.
but not for the same exact reasons. So, yeah, he calls them the unfuckable nerds. Yeah, you were being nice. I
Oh, are
said
we allowed to say the F word on this podcast? I didn't know.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah. Okay. Woo!
this
Fuck yeah.
podcast is not for kids. Yeah.
All right. Well, take back the fucking mic, Va. Go ahead.
So, um, the character himself, I mean, they have enough character development for him. They show that also part of the reason why he's a bully to them is because he's kind of lonely at home, and that gets to him. Sure, okay, like I've seen that before in shows too. I'm seeing it again here. He's super rich. His dad's clients are famous people. Okay, but I would have just liked it better if they showed that this rivalry turned into like a good friendship. It didn't have to turn into a romance. John McEnroe, yeah. He explains how the two of them, Ben and Davy, have been having a rivalry since like kindergarten or something, right? And that's why they're always mean to each other and everything. And then when Ben got drunk at his birthday party, we saw that he tried to kiss Davy and he stopped and he tried to kiss Davy again, which weirded Davy out. So I don't know. He was really drunk, but I guess that means he had kind of something for her, even though, as Davy pointed out, he has a girlfriend. Now, by the time the show ends, they kiss, they make out basically, and I didn't like that for a few reasons. The first being, and I know this is going to be kind of controversial, but in the Western South Asian community, I would say it's kind of a cliche, and some might even call it a stereotype, where the rebellious brown girl rejects her culture and just tries to go after someone not from her culture, someone who takes her away from her roots, like someone white. The same thing can be said for a brown guy going after, like feeling rebellious and going against his culture, rejecting his culture to go against like someone white to date. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but Davy wasn't all that rebellious. She didn't hate being Indian. I mean, one of the episodes was called "Never Have I Ever Felt So Indian," or felt super Indian. That was the name of the like most Indian episode, I guess, because of like how much it had to do with Indian culture. It was the puja, and there was one character there, I think, where it was someone that she looked up to. I think the character's name was Pavesh, and she was talking to him, and he was talking about his college experience and how he likes being part of this Indian culture, the puja. And she's kind of like, even though she did put on a shari, even though like she was part of it all, she was praying to her gods, and she blessed her textbooks in the beginning, like her mom told her to. She's not all about her culture, and that's fine. She wasn't totally rejecting it, but I also couldn't help but notice that besides her, there weren't any other Indian characters in high school. It seemed like she was the only Indian character that was a high school student. There was her mom, there was Kamala, there was her uncle who comes over to supervise Kamala's arranged marriage meeting thing, and we'll talk about Kamala in a sec, but there was no other character really that was Indian that can show more Indian perspectives. And the whole thing with her ending up with Ben, like the reason that kind of rubbed me the wrong way is because I think with the way she was mad at him and then he was being nice to her, just showed that they could become friends. They could start having a friendly rivalry. But now that they're probably going to start dating, first of all, why does this not go against Davy's principles? Because she was the one who said to him when he tried to kiss her, "Don't you have a girlfriend?" And then she goes in for the kiss. So she's going against her own principles there. Even though Ben's girlfriend only likes him for the money, which I don't really know if that's true. That's only something that Ben said. We never really know much about her girlfriend, so I don't know if they're going to make her a more important character or if they're only going to make her significant to break up with him in the next season. I don't know. But there's that, plus the fact that they're probably going to be a couple now. This whole bickering that they've had back and forth, I actually liked that dynamic between them. So now, if they become a couple, they're either going to continue like, bickering at each other, but now it's just going to be like couple fighting, boyfriend, girlfriend, having like the usual bickering, and that's not going to be entertaining. Or they're just going to stop fighting and they're going to always get along, and that's also not going to be entertaining. So I would have just liked it if they showed that they actually became friends. Them ending up as a couple, just, I don't know. It didn't feel right to me. They could have just showed that boys and girls are capable of becoming good friends. That they don't always have to have romantic feelings. They're capable of just becoming good friends. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know if I'm kind of
Yeah.
rambling here, but
No, I think you're absolutely right about that. It would have been better if they just ended up as friends, I think. Plus, I think the whole trope of making two characters who start out as enemies become lovers can set some really bad examples for kids in real life. Like, I wouldn't want a kid to watch this show and think, oh, so and so is mean to me in high school. Maybe that's because he likes me. I think that can get really unhealthy.
Ooh,
I've seen it done worse than it's done here, but on the whole, I don't really like that trope.
that whole concept is a whole movie, and you guys probably have heard of it, but he's not that into you. He's just not that into you.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that movie touches on the whole upbringing of girls seeing that and thinking it's okay that boys are mean to them because that means they like them, and that whole spiel.
Yeah. That said, I did think the episode that was told from Ben's perspective was at once one of the funniest and one of the saddest episodes of the series. Like, I loved Andy Samberg's narration and the bit where Ben goes to the pizza shop and he meets that like older guy who wants to watch him blow on the slices.
Slower.
That made me like burst out laughing, and I kind of hated myself for laughing as hard as I did at that scene.
The whole time, he's trying to give the guy the benefit of the doubt, and the whole time I'm like, no, bro, that's how they get you. And then
he throws the guy like 3 different lifelines. Oh,
slower. I'm like, run.
Oh God.
Oh, but that made me nervous though when they did the episode. Switched the narrator and they switched to him, because I was like, so what, are they going to do that every 5 episodes for different cast members, or what's up? So initially I was nervous about it.
Yeah. That could be fun, like in season 2, if they don't change it up too often. But it'd be funny to see like who Eleanor's narrator is or who Fabiola's narrator is. But yeah, they shouldn't change it every week or every episode.
But initially, I was nervous about it. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about it, but we'll see.
I get you.
I don't know if you guys recognize the creepy dude that Ben went to have pizza with, but he was the same guy who played the principal at I Am Not Okay With This.
Oh my God, you're right.
Oh, then I didn't catch that.
Oh, damn.
Well, actually,
this just turned into like a Marvel Universe thing.
I don't know if he was the same guy. I don't think he was a principal. He was just a school teacher, but yeah, he was also in.
Yeah, I think he was that dorky teacher that they had.
Right,
okay, speaking of the history teacher in this show, like, oh my God, this dude.
Tries so hard to be cool.
Oh my God. Like, yeah, come up with an app to help like people escape the Holocaust, because that's what cool teachers do. Jeez.
Like, can we actually learn something we're gonna need?
Oh my God. Hey, I'm gonna sit next to you, just eat this egg salad or whatever it was. I don't know, but God. I liked the principal in this show though.
She wasn't
the African American woman who was like yelling at Davy for saying something like really depraved to Ben early in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
she was funny.
She was like, "Yeah, you can't say that about." And then he says it, and then she's like, "Oh yeah, your words, not mine." Like,
she just sort of gestures at him. Yeah.
But going back to what Faerhad was saying, I also kind of wish they didn't go that same route as the enemy first and then lover later, because it seemed predictable in the beginning. Then it kind of seemed like, okay, maybe they're not going to do it when they brought Paxton out, and the issues that her and Davy had, and he had a girlfriend. So I was like, okay, maybe they're not going to do that. But then it ended up happening, and then sure enough, it was kind of predictable that, once they did make that a thing, I was like, yeah, okay, now watch. Paxton is actually going to realize he does love Davy or like Davy.
Saw it coming a mile away.
So, yeah, I also want to take a good portion of this podcast to talk about Paxton, but my whole thing is, again, I don't think race had anything to do for or against why Davy fell for Ben, but I wanted some sort of show, or like I wish there would be some work of fiction that showed that like brown people are capable of falling in love outside of arranged marriages, or like outside of like what culture brings them together for. And my fiance was mentioning this, that like how they handled Kamala's whole arranged marriage storyline. So the show does bring up the topic of arranged marriage, but they focus very heavily, or imply very heavily, the stereotypical arranged marriage where a man and a woman get arranged and that's it. Like they don't really have a say in the matter. During the puja episode, I'm pretty sure Kamala sat down with a auntie who was telling her a story about how she broke away from her arranged marriage to marry a Muslim guy, and then ended up even divorcing him, and then very strongly advising her to stick with her arranged marriage. And what sort of message is that supposed to send? That like, that this toxic culture of forced arranged marriages is something that you're better off just following? And the thing is that we're first led to believe that Kamala is not going to move forward with this arranged marriage. She has a boyfriend, Steve, and he seems like an okay guy. We don't really know much about Steve. They don't really give him much character development. He's only there just to further along the subplot that Kamala is in an arranged marriage that she wants to get out of. At first, she tells him that that she doesn't want to move forward with this arranged marriage and she wants to stay with him. But then she meets Prashant, who is her husband-to-be, and just because he's handsome and charming, she has a change of heart about the whole arranged marriage thing. Both myself and my fiance, we were thinking that what the show was going to do was have Kamala fight the whole arranged marriage thing. And we don't really see why she breaks up with Steve finally. Like, he's there in her room, and I feel like he was kind of crossing a line. Like, I get that he probably loves her and wants to like save her and everything, but that's still kind of crossing a line. You can't just climb into other people's houses and stuff whenever you want. That just was, I don't know. But she meets him, and she meets Prashant, and she sees that he's actually a pretty decent guy, someone that she could probably get to know and be with. And it's not really explained why she breaks up with Steve, other than to like suddenly think that maybe marrying Prashant is a good idea. So the way the show handles the arranged marriage thing is so quasi. It does kind of show that like not all arranged marriages are the same. Like, yeah, in arranged marriages, people are capable of liking each other before they get married. Yeah. But they also decide, Prashant and Kamala, to take it slow, which that was cool that they did that. But I read a comment online, which I also think might be true, that maybe we have not seen the last of this love triangle, meaning Steve, Prashant, and Kamala. There might be more to this as well. Maybe we haven't seen the last of Steve. But as far as how they handled the whole thing, I guess they could have either shown that people have choice in arranged marriages, but that's not the route that they wanted to take in depicting arranged marriages. They wanted to go with the whole, it's a forced thing and it's something that you should do, otherwise you'll bring shame to your family, especially with that conversation she had with the other woman at the puja. But Kamala's whole story arc is the fact that she has a boyfriend that she really cares for, and she goes against that and she decides to move forward with the arranged marriage. So what sort of message is that storyline supposed to portray? I don't know if I fully appreciated how they handled her storyline. I know this is still me rambling, and I don't know if you guys can fully get where I'm coming from, but is this making sense to you guys?
Absolutely. I think the show kind of turned on Steve because, yeah, like you were saying earlier in the series, he looks like a pretty cool guy. And then I think in episode 9, where they introduce the man who's being groomed to possibly be her arranged spouse,
Prashant, yeah.
Steve just yeah. Sorry, I didn't. I couldn't quite remember how to pronounce his name. I apologize. But Steve just sort of comes off as kind of dorky in that episode, and like desperate, and it almost seemed out of character for him. You know. So I think the writers weren't quite sure about what to do with him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true. I mean,
they kind of threw him under the bus.
they do, and they just don't flesh out his character much. Like I said, they don't really give him much character development. When we first saw that Kamala had a boyfriend, we don't see much more other than he loves her and wants her to stay with him, despite the fact that she's stuck in an arranged marriage. And that's it,
Hmm.
you know? And when Davy's mom catches her with Steve, she's not even that mad. And Davy's like, "What? Like you knew about this and you're understanding of it?" So brings me to another point that that my fiance mentioned, which I think is an interesting point. We don't know how Davy's parents came to be, which I feel like could be an interesting, dynamic to bring to the show if they were to flesh it out. Because like the ghost of Mohan, like has been hunting this family, like figuratively speaking. But how did they fall in love? Was Davy's parents like a love marriage? Like they like met and knew each other outside of an arranged marriage, or was it an arranged marriage that was forced, or was it an arranged marriage that they actually liked each other, and that the arranged marriage of Kamala and Prashant is implying? We don't really know, and I feel like it would be a good idea to bring that into the show. It would just add further layers to how like if people in this community like view each other, meet each other, and end up being together and stuff. On top of that, we know that both her mom and herself are grieving, but we don't see that much of how her mom is handling the loss of her husband. We see a lot of it with Davy, but not so much with the mom character. Another character that I wanted to talk about was the therapist that Davy has. I don't remember the therapist's name, but I
Uh,
do think she's
Dr. Ryan, I think.
Dr. Ryan. Okay.
Yeah.
She played one of the mom characters in another Netflix miniseries called When They See Us, which in my opinion is a masterpiece. Al Rogers and we reviewed that in season 1 of the podcast, and I gave that a 10 out of 10. So I think like if you gentlemen have the time, like off the record, you guys should definitely check that out as well. But I think, yeah, Dr. Ryan's actress, she's a really good actress, but I don't know if I totally liked the direction they went with therapy in this show. Like they didn't take it too seriously. The main focus was like I think the therapist was trying to do a good job in trying to bring out the fact that Davy is still grieving over the loss of her father, but they don't really flesh out like what she's going through that much. I mean, in the ultimate episode, she eventually joins her family in scattering his ashes in the ocean, but that to me doesn't really, it did not signify to me enough of her accepting her father's death. Like I would have liked more, and I don't think we're going to see it in season 2, of her having a full-on confession with her therapist about what she's been feeling, how she's been like dealing with the loss of her father. But I don't think we're going to get that. I think it was supposed to be seen as she comes to grips with it in the season finale, and they'll move on from it completely in season 2. That's the way I saw it.
Well, you've got to save something for season 2.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely enough to go on for, to start a season 2. Like, Paxton has a sister. I couldn't tell if she was supposed to be an adopted sister or a half sister, because I think Paxton, the character, is like half white and half Japanese. So it could be his adopted sister, or it could be just his half sister. And I remember when Davy was at his house for the first time, her sister knocks on the bathroom door and asks her for help picking out an outfit. And then Paxton is like, "Are you sneaking around my house or something?" All Davy had to do was say, "No, your sister was asking me for help for something." But she didn't say that. Like that's all she had to say. I find it funny how two situations in this show is where Paxton comes in the way. Like Paxton comes between two different events for her. The first time was when, after Davy realizes how shitty of a friend she was to Eleanor and Fabiola, and after Eleanor's audition, and Eleanor and her mom decides to leave again for Hollywood, obviously Eleanor has a mental breakdown, and Fabiola is texting Davy to come to the theater room or something, or the rehearsal room. At the same time, Paxton is hitting her up and says that there's a fashion emergency. She does a like a photo shoot, and she tells him very specifically, "I only have 10 minutes." Okay, but then after the photo shoot, she's just sitting there talking to him, socializing with him, and they show that her phone is down and she wasn't looking at her phone. Hello, I mean, weren't you making it a top priority to be a good friend again? And you said you only had 10 minutes. How could you completely forget about the fact that your friends need you right now? That was that's borderline like convenient and just lazy writing to me. Like, how could you forget that? Like, how could you? I mean, yeah, I get that Paxton is your crush and everything, but you knew you ditched your friends to go and see him, and you should have went right back there once you were done. You could just talk to him again later. But anyway,
she probably got swept up in what was happening. I mean, not only was she hanging out with Paxton and his family, but she was putting on these nice outfits and getting treated like a model. I mean, that sounds like a pretty sweet afternoon. I know, ethically, in that situation, you ought to go and help your friends, but she's a teenager. Sometimes teenagers make dumb decisions.
A
So
boy
do adults,
crazy
for that matter.
teenager.
What's up?
A boy crazy teenager.
There you go. There you go. Love makes fools of us all.
Well, as like I was saying though, like that was the first time that like Paxton came right in between two things happening with her, and the second time was right at the end where she kisses Ben, and literally at that same time Paxton is calling her. So like that's the second time that like Paxton came in between two things happening to her. And this dude Paxton, man, like I remember like after Ben's birthday party, that she wasn't answering his texts or his calls. So he shows up to her doorstep to give her her dress back. Like, bro, don't you know to just like wait? Why would you go straight to her house after that? There was a time where she was hitting you up and you weren't answering your phone, which was, when you found out that she was lying about you guys having sex. So if she's not answering, it's probably a good idea to just give it some time and she'll get back to you. But what does he do? He goes to her house and blurts out to her mom about the party and the drinking and the kissing. So I don't know. Like the whole thing with Paxton is like he's kind of shown as like being the stereotypical dumb jock character, but is he also supposed to be dumb in the aspect of like knowing not when to cross lines? Even at the very end of the show, when his sister is shaming him for not trying to pursue Davy as a girlfriend, he calls her, she doesn't answer, and he goes to her house again. Like, damn, are their houses that close together, like they're neighbors, that he could just go there whenever he wants? Especially after Davy's mom insulted him so bad. Do you really want to go back there and risk having to see her again? I don't know how to feel about Paxton. Initially I was saying like maybe he is my favorite character because he seems like a decent guy, even though when he he wanted Davy to be his group partner, like he was saying to his friend, oh yeah, she's super smart, she'll do the whole thing for us, or something like that, right? Got a mixed signal from him, but he seems to be like at least a good friend, and then he kisses her. So I don't know, I couldn't fully get a read on Paxton.
He's got a one-track mind. Like, most things that he deals with is popular people problems. So the little things like that aren't really too much of a big deal to him. Like,
okay. I mean,
unless it insults him, that something little like that's a big deal to him.
Yeah, I mean, he does stand up for himself. He did feel insulted. Like the first time was when Eleanor said to him, how dare you say my mom was there? She's halfway around the world. Are you saying all Asians look alike? And he's like, I'm half Japanese.
My boy was like, I honestly didn't think I was going to be talking to y'all this long.
Oh yeah.
Then the other kid's like, "You're Japanese?" It's like, "Oh, I thought that guy was your neighbor." When he's talking about his dad, you met my dad. I thought that was your neighbor.
That was funny, actually. Um, but yeah, I think I've pretty much gone through all of my thoughts in podcast fashion off the top of my head and rambling about this show. One last thing that I will mention is I don't know if you guys are familiar with the show Heroes, but the gentleman who plays Davy's dad was also on that show. Good actor, very good, very good looking actor in my opinion. Concluding thoughts: the show was good, but it had a lot of disappointing moments. Part of it was the writing, part of it was like the cliche storytelling. Like just because something is cliche doesn't make it bad. It's the execution of the cliche is what determines whether it's good storytelling or not, in my opinion. The casting was also a little off sometimes. Like Paxton does not look like he's 16, not even close. And surprise, surprise, the actor is our age. Same with Eleanor. She didn't really look like she was 15 or 16, and the actress is like 22, 23. So not that much older, but she didn't look like a teenager, in my opinion. The acting itself was fine, I thought. I also didn't like how Davy got romantic with Ben at the end. I think they kind of rushed the whole grieving part of her father. The therapy, I feel like they fleshed that out a little bit more. And yeah, in a nutshell, I think that's how I felt.
I want to say I do agree with what you were saying earlier, where it kind of seems like they were more leaning towards being pro cultural norm with Kamala's storyline and everything.
Yeah.
And I will say it does leave room for them to, grow in the following season, because it could just be them, not trying to go too far against the grain so they don't get canceled. And then, we still have Davy. She's young. She's in a love triangle right now. So there's a lot of room for that to blow up. Both boys could be out of the picture by season 2, season 3, whatever. And maybe that's when they'll actually do something more meaningful towards what's fitting to her, as in finding somebody who's familiar with her culture, who's, gone through the culture, but isn't actually like an arranged marriage type situation.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I've known a lot of brown couples that have, married someone the same culture and have married someone
Mm-hmm.
outside of their culture. Like I'm familiar with both, so it
Yeah.
definitely happens, and it's become more and more acceptable as time has gone on. But the show handles it in questionable ways, for lack of a better way of explaining.
On one hand, it could also be, hey, they did that now. That's already been done. Now they got to do something different,
Yeah.
which could lead down the different perspective. But I would say it's a decent show. It catered to my past love of like Degrassi, the high school drama, and all that stuff.
I think we've been pretty down on this show for the most part so far in this podcast, but on the whole, I actually really enjoyed this one. The comedy landed. I thought it was a very strong ensemble piece with a great cast of characters, and I also absolutely believed the family drama aspect. I thought the subplot with Davy and her mother was very real. It felt organic, and I felt that the show was telling us that Davy is, in a way, her mom's mirror image. She's naturally inclined to act like her mother a lot of the time. They're both extremely willful, driven people who are also a little bit guarded. But I think Davy wants to be a little bit more like her dad, who was very outgoing, who seemed not to care too much about what other people thought of him, who seemed to think that if you're happy, happy things will happen to you. That's the vibe I got from her father, and I think that's the kind of person she'd like to be, but she probably has a lot more in common with her mom, and that might be the source of the tension between them because most of us don't really like people who remind us of ourselves. I notice. God, I'm starting to talk like I'm on Oprah, but anyway.
Wow.
Overall, I liked this show. I did take issue with a couple of things here and there, but I think it's a great show, and I would absolutely watch season 2.
Awesome. Awesome. I gotta say, JM, that was a really good analysis. You brought up some points that I never even thought of before. Like you thought outside of the box, and I couldn't even think that far ahead. So great, great points.
Ah, shucks. I I I married somebody who was like a psychology minor for a while, so I
Aw.
rubbed a lot of that stuff off of her.
I wonder. I
Or she
wonder
rubbed it off
how.
on me.
I wonder how Sid would feel watching the show.
She liked what she saw of it. We both loved Eleanor, but we're both theater kids. So yeah, Eleanor trudging around in like her flapper outfit was just delightful.
Oh, okay. So she has seen part of it with you.
She watched part of a couple of episodes, yeah. I sort of binged this in chunks.
Cool.
Yeah.
Going into ratings, I want to give the show the benefit of the doubt because it is a really good show. I'm always, of course, there for the brown representation, South Asian representation. It's great to see new young actors of South Asian descent, Indian descent, showing their talent. Hopefully, we'll see more and more of this. So this show will definitely have my support, even though there was a lot there that I didn't agree with. Setting aside that, trying to be objective of it, putting that together with how much I actually enjoyed it, I think I can be fair, the most fair, the fairest, by giving Never Have I Ever a 7.5 out of 10.
All right. It was a solid watch for me. I enjoyed it. I even watched the first, 5 episodes without any complaint. A second time to, catch my girlfriend up, and then we watched the whole series together. She enjoyed it. I'm gonna give it a solid 7, and I do think I will be tuning into the next season.
Yep, I'd give this one an 8 personally, and I will definitely be back for season 2. The show is a lot of fun, and the drama works very well. I think it'll crack you up and it'll make you bawl like a baby. That's all I want out of television. So I'm gonna be back for round 2.
Nice. Well, I'm honestly glad that you fellas really enjoyed it, And I really wonder, since our original plan was just through the first half, how much you guys would have liked it if we just ended it like at episode 5, how much you guys would have enjoyed it.
Bro, if we stopped at episode 5, I probably would have gave it a 10 just off that last episode.
Off the nuclear war.
Hell yeah. I'd have been too hyped. I'd have came in too hyped. I'd have been like 10, 10, 10.
Oh man.
Oh, wow.
Like I gave it a 7, but it had some 10 moments though for me.
Oh, absolutely. Like anytime like Paxton's stoner friend was on screen, I cracked up.
Oh no.
Just another great character. Except when he's putting his nether regions in the punch.
Yeah, what was up with that? Oh man.
That's just a stupid guy thing, I guess.
My boy was like, everybody I know is invited to the party. Davey shows up. Would you forget your calculator or something?
Jeez. Woof.
So hopefully this show does not suffer the same fate as the other shows we talked about, but we'll see. We'll see how Netflix decides to handle it. Anyway, I think we are due for some more anime though.
Oh yes, oh yes.
Wink.
All right, so the next show that we are going to delve into is a really, really recently new show called God of High School. And I did one video on it going over the first episode of it. And now I want to, have you guys dig into it, a little further with me. So I apologize in advance if you're not used to watching subtitles. Anybody who's tuning in that wants to watch this with us. But there's only 3 episodes that are dubbed right now. So we're just going to go straight into the subs. It's a mostly fighting show, and it's called God of High School because there's a tournament called God of High School, but it's not going to only be about tournaments, like it, as far as I understand. I think the main thing is there's a god element to him. Like he's based off of the same god that Goku was based off of in Dragon Ball Z, if you're not familiar with Goku. But I think that's just the main reason why they call it God of High School. It starts with the tournament, but he's an actual god within, a high school right now.
I did actually see that video you made of God of High School on your channel as well. So I guess the fact that it's so new is why most of it has not been dubbed yet. But hey, anime or not, foreign languages are fair game for this podcast. We covered an Italian movie in season 1. So yeah, the more the merrier, the way I see it. And I'm totally down with watching anime with subtitles. When Dragon Ball Kai first came out, it was known as Dragon Ball Kai, not even Dragon Ball Z Kai, and I was watching it in Japanese with subtitles. So yeah, I'm totally game with this.
Sweet.
Me too.
I'm thankful to actually be able to cater to, you know, the people that follow my page that actually like watching the sub, because I could wait until, you know, they dub the next 2 episodes. It's not going to take that long, but I wanna be on both sides, because I love both dub and sub, especially if it's an exciting show to watch.
He's a
So,
double agent.
Are you
yeah.
gonna be?
I'm the Avatar. I'm trying to bring all the nations together.
Are you gonna be having a movie length mashup for this?
I am. I have it. It was downloading earlier. I should have everything posted either tonight or tomorrow. But I don't know if I'm gonna have an actual like voiceover commentary for it this time around. It might just be like the first one with just, you know, just scenes from the intro or something like that.
Oh, you mean for like your teaser?
Yeah, just the video that shows, hey, you know, this is where you can watch the full length
Right.
map.
Okay. Got it. Okay. I think you did that for ReZero too. Like the teaser was just like, you know, like a video without a voiceover and then the link. Okay. All right. So
But if anything, maybe I'll just link, you know, the video that I did for the first episode.
Okay. All right. Very good. So our review is going to be based on your movie length mashup, yeah?
Yes, sir.
All right, sounds good. Sounds very good. All right. So
Indeed.
that just about does it for this episode of Movie Guys Improvise. You have been listening to
Chill with Realms.
Jurassic Mark.
and Faerhad Targaryen. Thank you all again so much for listening to us, and catch us again next week on our next anime episode.
Thank you for chilling with us. And as always, chill energy only. Unless, you know, you want to live savage, not average.
Walk without rhythm and it won't attract the worm.
Wait, say it again?
Walk without rhythm and it won't attract the worm. Sorry, I got really excited by that new Dune trailer.
I like that.
Wunderbar.